Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news on transfer deadline day. And it's bad news to start off with because Jadon Sancho's transfer to Juventus is off. What does that mean on the final day? We still don't have official Manuel Ugarte. We will get it, but is it looking like transfer deadline day now is just going to be very similar to other transfer deadline days where it's a deal like Ugarte that we knew was happening days ago that you keep to the final day to quell disappointment and then you don't do anything else and actually can we get rid of Sancho? It's looking like that. Why are we live at 8 o'clock? Lots going on today. Goldbridge has got to go out, that's why. But midday Europa League live draw on the channel. I'll be doing that. Then we've got Ten Hag's press conference at 1:30. And then from 2 until 11, we're live with you with transfer deadline day from the studio with me and all sorts going on. So little bit early this morning, but that's your reasoning for it. And we've got lots to talk about on the morning show anyway, so you're not missing out. If anything, you're going to get more. So let's start off with what's happening with Jadon Sancho. I've got a horrible feeling what's happening with Jadon Sancho is my little clip that a lot of people took yesterday where I said, you're not going to Chelsea, you're not going to Chelsea. He could end up going to Chelsea. So Juventus were very, very advanced on this deal for Jadon Sancho. There's no doubt about it. But as per Di Marzio, as per Fabrizio, as per other outlets, Juventus are currently out of the race. Now, the story is that Juventus are out of the race because they just want to do a loan deal. I think the truth is that Juventus are out of the race because Sancho has indicated a desire to go to Chelsea. And one thing I would say is that some football clubs actually have morals and some football clubs won't be taken the piss out of. And I think Juventus have probably looked at this and gone, if you are uncertain and flirting with Chelsea and using us as your backup if it doesn't go right, do one. And I think that's what Juventus have done because this whole, the deal with Juventus has fallen through because it's a loan deal. We always knew it was a loan deal. It was always a loan deal with an obligation to buy, and that's what it was. And now it's suddenly we can't do a deal with Juventus because they want a straight loan. And yet everybody from Italy and in the UK has said that Juventus were looking at a loan with an obligation to buy. So I think what's happened here is exactly what we suspected was going to happen with Jadon Sancho, which is that he has, you know, flexed his muscles and said, I want to go to Chelsea. And, you know, this puts Man United in a very difficult position now because we'll do a poll on this, of course, but ultimately I still stand by it. You know, letting Jadon Sancho go to Chelsea is just a business decision to save his wage. What about the embarrassment that it's going to cause us when he's playing for a rival? It's just absolutely incredibly thick, and I won't move past it because he only. It's like that. It's like that saying from the film Heat, isn't it? You know, Robert De Niro is the criminal and Al Pacino is the detective. And Pacino is thinking about whether he does one final heist before he retires. And the guy who's setting up the deal says, it's a risk, you know. And De Niro's going, it's worth the risk. And the guy's going, look, that detective who's chasing you, he can afford to miss 3 or 4 times because he's only got to catch you once. You can't afford to miss once because if you miss once, you're caught. And that's exactly what I feel about Sancho going to Chelsea. We can't afford, you know, he can afford to miss 10, 20, 30 times he plays for Chelsea. But we can't afford for him to miss once. And what I mean by that is, it only takes one good performance in a Chelsea shirt and we look stupid. One. Why run that risk? You know, one good performance in a Chelsea shirt and it's, Sancho's cooking, he's sat Ten Hag and United down. Why would you do this? I'll tell you why you do it. Because you want to save £15 million a year. Because we've made 200 people redundant this summer to save money. And if we keep Jadon Sancho on £15 million a year, morally, we look absolutely incredible. And that's the position that this football club's found itself in, is that we're going to probably have to do a deal with Chelsea on Jadon Sancho because of money. Because if we don't, I'll put my hands up, we look absolutely horrifically immoral, making 200 normal people redundant and then keeping Jadon Sancho on £15 million a year. We've got to do the deal. I can sit here and say, don't let him go to Chelsea, don't let him go to Chelsea, don't let him go to Chelsea. You know as well as I do that we've sacked 200 normal people this summer. You can't sack 200 normal people who've got mortgages and, you know, kids to feed, and then say to Sancho, yeah, we'll give you 15 million because you're not going to Chelsea. You've got to do it. You've got to do it. And yet again, Jadon Sancho takes the piss out of this football club. It's very, very, very annoying, but that's just the way it is. What I would say is to all those United Sancho fans, can you fuck off with him to Chelsea as well? There ain't no way you support Man United. No way you support Man United. Absolutely not. I know it's 8 o'clock in the morning, but there's absolutely no way you support Man United above Jadon Sancho. If you're championing Sancho and you think you're a United fan, absolutely. How does that even work? He's not apologised. He's treated the club like shit, and here he is on transfer deadline day forcing a move to a rival. You know why he's forcing a move to a rival? Because he wants to fucking do our legs later on. And you, who say you support Man United, who champion Sancho, you'll be there when he's at Chelsea going, I told you so, I told you so. What's that? This is exactly why I don't want him to go to Chelsea. Because I support Man United. I don't want him, and I think he can. I'm not saying he's not a bad player. I think he is a good player. That's why I don't want him to go to Chelsea, because if he goes to Chelsea, I think there's a very, very big chance he's going to make us muggers off. And I don't want it to happen. I just don't, I do not understand why we would do it. But somehow there are still players at Manchester United that are capable of running this football club, I suppose. Happy but a bit surprised that you're early. Midday Europa League draw, and I've got to do some stuff around 10 o'clock today, so had to do it a little bit early today, but normally we'll be live at 10 o'clock. It's just one time. Okay, I'm going to run a poll here, and then so latest on Sancho is that the Juventus deal is off. And Robert McCormack says, don't stress, you'll have a couple of flashes, that's it. I completely disagree, Robert. I think, you know, I know we disagree on a lot. I completely disagree. If you watch the way Maresca is playing, it's all about possession. Sancho loves the ball into feet, side to side passing. He will do well at Chelsea. He will do well at Chelsea. I'm absolutely convinced, which is why Man United shouldn't do the deal. And you can clip up this. If Sancho goes to Chelsea and in a few months' time, Chelsea are above us and Sancho's doing well, and United fans want to go, oh, we were unlucky. We weren't bloody unlucky. Now was the time not to do the deal. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. If you're in a running race, right? If you're in a running race and you're racing for the line, okay, and you're about a mile away and two of you are neck and neck and someone gives you a bottle of water and you give it to the person next to you, more fool you if they go on and win. Why fund and help a rival? Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, top three this season, pretty much nailed on. Means fourth place, one place. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chelsea want that and we want that. Don't do it. Anyway, let's get this poll set up. What would you do? It's looking like Sancho, Chelsea or keep. It's that simple. That's where we are this morning. Other bits of news to discuss. Amrabat has signed for Fenerbahce. Mason Mount injury we'll talk about in a moment. Raheem Sterling latest. And is there any other deals we can do this transfer deadline day? I think it's looking very, very unlikely. I think the minute they pushed Agate back to today was inevitable that we were probably going to do nothing, because you make transfer. We have done this before. Somebody in the chat said it. We've done this before, Mark. We've done it. Here we go. Like 3 days before transfer deadline day, and then the club keep the official announcement back until transfer deadline day so that they can just say, well, we were doing Agate. We had no time. They could have done this yesterday. The club could have done this yesterday. Everybody in the club knows they could have done this yesterday. This purposely got pushed back to today. He did his medical on Wednesday. There was absolutely no reason. The talk is it's registration papers, but funnily enough, we've got a deadline of midday to register him if we want him to play against Liverpool. How much do you want to bet we'll register him before midday today? He will get registered today, and the medical's been done. So, what about Rabiot? Says the super. I don't know what's happening with Rabiot, and I don't really know what Rabiot's got to do with anything. I mean, Amrabat to Fenerbahce is weird. Keel says we should keep hold of Sancho till January. I think it's really difficult for United now on Sancho. I really do. We'll come back to that in a minute. Do you keep a player who is absolutely mugging you off and forcing you to do something you don't want to do, or do you do you let him go to Chelsea and try and get some money back? Yeah, it's a tough one, I suppose, but you can vote on that now. Amrabat has signed for Fenerbahce. So this weird summer of him training in his Man United shorts, waiting on Manchester United, ultimately ends with him going to Fenerbahce and Jose Mourinho. I think it's a bit chaotic what's happened with Amrabat, to be honest with you. I think low-key it probably won't get the credit or attention it deserves, but I'm certainly going to give it a minute. This guy played fantastically well in the FA Cup final. I don't know whether we'd win it without him, but maybe that's a step too far considering, Mainu and Garnacho and everybody who played well in that final. But Amrabat benched Casemiro for that final and played very, very well. And I think the club has skipped a beat here, to be honest with you. I think at times their intention was to bring him back. He was on the website after June when his loan deal was up. But I think the club have missed a beat here because there should be some sort of thank you to Amrabat that he'll never get now. And, I know the circumstances may not have allowed for it, but he had a very, very, very good FA Cup final for us. And that FA Cup final was absolutely massive at the end of a terrible season to get that. He started in that final and he played very, very well. And the fact that he's just been let go and nobody's acknowledged it or anything like that, I think it's poor on the club, really. Obviously, I would have liked him. I would have liked, where we are now, I would have liked him to have come back because, ultimately, we have got Mr. Camouflage and Mr. Camouflage in the defence, haven't we? Lindelof and Eriksen staying is why Amrabat's not coming in. And everyone's going to talk about Sancho today because, he's problematic, of course, in relation to moving him out. But Christian Eriksen should not be at this football club. He's running a contract down on 150k a week. And Victor Lindelof shouldn't be at this football club. And he's running a contract down on 120k a week. I mean, at least Varane wanted a contract. Anthony Martial probably was running his contract down, but Varane wanted to stay. We didn't want him, so he left. Lindelof and Eriksen are running contracts down. We don't want them. And that is why we're not going to bring Amrabat in, and that is why we're not going to bring in Rabiot, I think, as well. So anyone who's saying Rabiot, or anyone who's saying, well, Amrabat's gone to Fenerbahce, but anyone saying Rabiot, we can't do it because Christian Eriksen's staying on 150k a week. And that's another... I think United have got... Look, the journalists are terrified. They're terrified of having their press conference access taken away. But proper journalism is having the ability, confidence to do your job. And United are a bit of a contradiction this summer transfer window, We've made 200 people unemployed. I know I've mentioned this already, but we've made 200 people unemployed. They could be you. It could be anybody. They're not footballers. They're on 30, 40 grand a year. They've got mortgages. They've got houses like everybody's got. They've been made unemployed by Sir Jim Radcliffe's new regime. And then you've got Christian Eriksen on 150k a week. Jadon Sancho on 250k a week. Victor Lindelof on 120k a week. Those people have lost their job so that those people can sit on their arse at Man United for another year. And that's the bottom line. Ineos can't get them out. They can't get them out. So morally, Man United this summer, it leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth about where we've saved money so that we can keep people who won't go. And that's the bottom line. We can't get rid of these people because of contracts that the Glazers gave. And it's put Ineos in a very, very difficult position where, some of the money-saving exercises we've done at the football club aren't that palatable when you've got these chances just running down contracts. But I say chances, They've got a contract. I blame the Glazers. It's the contracts that the Glazers have given that have put us into that position. But if you wanted a Rabiot or you wanted an Amrabat, the short answer is it can't happen when you've got Christian Eriksen in your midfield who won't go. And what's Eriksen going to offer Man United this season? I mean, from a purely footballing point of view, I love Christian Eriksen. You know, God, what happened in that Euros game? We are blessed that he's even still here. So no one's having a pop at Christian Eriksen. It's the fact that he's on 150k a week and he's absolutely pointless at United. Like there should have been. Look, I don't know what should have happened because I don't know. But what I will not stay quiet on is that if he had gone, which is the intention, then we probably would have Amrabat at the football club or a Rabiot or somebody else. But we cannot bring another midfielder in when you've got somebody on that amount of money. And what will his role be? Savage says he offers nothing. He's not mobile enough to play as a number 10 because he can't press. He's not mobile enough to play as a number 8 because he loses his runners all the time. In a slow possession game, he's probably brilliant. Probably quite good at Chelsea. But you talk about legs are gone. Since that Andy Carroll tackle, he must have lost a yard of pace. It's like... he's not even one of those players like Modric who you can just stick on and can run the game. Like he just doesn't offer anything to Manchester United long-termism. If we lose Mainu, you can't play Eriksen every week. I'm sure he can come on and do half an hour. I'm sure he can come on and do a Europa League or a Carabao Cup game or something like that. But he doesn't offer anything to us anymore. I mean, Collier offers a hell of a lot more. But look, what can you do? And I suppose that feeds into Amrabat's gone to Fenerbahce. No goodbye from Man United, even though he played in the final. Eriksen's clearly going to stay. Lindelof's clearly going to stay. So outgoings-wise, final day, maybe a few loan deals for younger players. But unless Jadon Sancho goes, I don't see any other outgoing other than Sancho. And that is probably going to be Chelsea, which I just don't think we should be doing. But there we go. Other incomings, well, Agate will be officially a Manchester United player. But other than that, tell me what we're going to do in just over 12 hours. It's going to be very, very difficult to do anything, I would argue. So I think that's sort of like where we are this morning with that. And I do think it will be a struggle for Manchester United to do anything else other than that at the moment. I want to talk about Mason Mount. Put Sancho in the reserves. He needs some rotting, says Kizele. We should keep Sancho because our wide options is very weak. Rashford is badly out of form. Anthony is rubbish. That only leaves us with Ahmad and Garnacho, says Jason. That's, keeping Jadon. I mean, that's the thing. The poll is very interesting this morning. Do you keep Sancho? Do you send him to Chelsea? The option is pretty much that for Manchester United this morning because Jadon Sancho has not agreed to go to Juventus and Juventus have pulled out. So, yeah, he's going to end up with minutes he doesn't deserve, says Cyril. Harry says you're handsome. Not how I want to start my Friday, mate, says Coley. Jason, thank you very much for your super chat there as well. I think that it's not much of a choice. It's a shit sandwich or it's a shit baguette. It's not a good choice. Sancho stays or Sancho goes to Chelsea. I mean, there is no good option there as far as I'm concerned. If he goes to Chelsea, you are hoping he completely and utterly flops because it just takes one good game and we look like a mug. If he stays at the club, you've got to put up with somebody that honestly doesn't want to be here. Like, he doesn't like this football club. Like, he's made that very, very obvious. And I don't think there's people in that football club that like him much either. So, and that's not even talking about the fans. So I just think it's a very, very difficult situation. And look, if he was on the bench against Liverpool and he came on for 20 minutes, he'd be cheered. He wouldn't be jeered. And that's the brilliance of the Man United support, is that no one's going to start booing him or anything like that. But as a football fan, you want to believe in every single player that's putting that shirt on. And you don't want a player that's here just because he's got nowhere else to go. And you're just humouring him and he's humouring us. Like, it's a bad situation. But I actually do think there is a solution here that people are missing. if Juventus want a loan, why don't we just loan him to Juventus? If the option is Chelsea or keep him, loan him to Juventus. I know it's not what we want to do, but this is something I said on Wednesday would be a problem. There is not long left in this window now. So if Juventus pull out, you are left with keep or Chelsea, neither of which are good options. So if we're saying giving him to Chelsea is a horrible option and keeping him is a horrible option, loan him to Juventus. I know it's not what we want to do, but put him in the shop window in Italy, pay a bit of his wages is better than giving him to Chelsea or him staying here. So just loan him to Juventus. I know it's not what we want, but it's the better of the other two options, in my opinion. Because if he goes, or loan him back to Dortmund, just loan him somewhere that's not the Premier League and say, crack on, because you're never going to Chelsea and you're not playing for us again. Do that. It's got to be better than doing a deal with Chelsea. And as I say, just talking about Chelsea, because this is where Mason Mount's going to come in. The Raheem Sterling situation is still mentioned, but to me, the swap deal we were talking about doing was ridiculous. There's now talk of us loaning Sterling and them loaning Sancho. I mean, that's just even worse. What kind of complicated nonsense is that? So Sterling does well at United or bad at United, but then Sancho still goes to Chelsea. It doesn't fundamentally change the situation that Sancho, in my opinion, has got a bigger potential than Sterling, and we're giving Sancho to a rival, and we're taking Sterling, who still has a multitude of reasons for not being a Man United signing. So, yeah, hopefully that Sterling deal is not going to happen. I wouldn't send him to Chelsea, but we can't keep him, says Patrick. Having him around means we can move on because he'll always be a question in the background. Why do we always get mugged? It's beyond my understanding, says Vivek. Well, you know what, Vivek? You make a great point because we are being mugged. And for all the Ineos madness and all the great job that Ineos are doing, which they are. I mean, I'm not actually blaming Ineos for this, but the situation is not magnificent. And some people want to say, oh, everything's so much better. It won't be better if we lose to Liverpool on Sunday. We'll have 3 points from 9 on the pitch. And it's not better off the pitch massively. There's still a lot of things going on off the pitch that aren't that great. We've still got a lot of injuries at the start of this season. Højlund, Yoro, Mason Mount now, Luke Shaw. Real talk, we've still got injury crisis at Man United. We're just pretending we haven't. We're still picking up a lot of injuries, right? That was a problem last season. We've still got a lot of players at this football club that are telling us they're at this football club. It is not Ineos' fault that they can't remove Eriksen, Lindelof, Maguire, Casemiro and Sancho, but that's 5 players that are still here on ridiculous money because they want to be here. They're not part of the plans, really. They're, Casemiro, Agate is replacing him. Maguire, De Ligt and Yoro are replacing him. Eriksen, Lindelof, Sancho aren't even wanted. So we've still got a bit of an injury crisis, and we've still got 5 players that we wanted to sell. So, and we could lose 2 out of 3 of our first few games. There is a bit of perfume being sprayed all over United to make it smell nice at the moment, but actually the cold, harsh reality is I'm a bit tired of people telling me how great things are at United, because Ineos would tell you they don't even want people saying that, because they want people to acknowledge the sheer amount of work that's been done, yes, but still the amount of work that needs to be done. Because they know it's dangerous if everyone starts saying, oh, wait, everything's so much better now, because the reality it could be very, 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 very different. And as I said, we have still got an injury crisis. That has not gone away. People seem to think the summer and a new ownership has got rid of an injury crisis. It hasn't. We're still picking up a hell of a lot of injuries. And we've still got a lot of players at this football club that just won't leave. And Vivek's right. We are being mugged off because we've still got players that have got more power than Ineos, because they've got a contract that Ineos can't do anything with. If I work at a company and Ineos walk in and went, Goldbridge, you're fired, and I go, I've got a watertight contract that's got 3 years left on it. I'm one of the biggest earners here. Sack me if you like, but it's going to cost you 15, 20, 30, 40 million pounds to pay this off. Do you want to do it? Didn't think so. Shut up, sit down, find me a move I want to do, or I'm not going anywhere. And that is the killer analogy on this transfer deadline day, because that's the situation Ineos face. They're walking into that office, they're saying, I don't want you anymore, get out. And I'm going, well, I've got 3 years left. I'm the top earner here. You might not want me, but I ain't going anywhere unless you find me somewhere that's going to pay me the same money. I'm not going. In fact, I'll go somewhere. I'll go to them across the road. You're not going there at their arrival. Well, I'll stay here and be a problem then. I'll go there across the road, your big rival, or I'll stay here and I'm not going anywhere. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? It's not easy. There are a lot of problems that Ineos can't solve straight away. Sancho should be embarrassed because everyone knows that he does not deserve his ridiculous wage, says Liam. I don't think he should be embarrassed of his wage. I think he should be absolutely high-fiving his agent every time he sees him, because like Anthony's agent and Maguire's agent and every other agent that's had a good deal out of the Glazers over the last few years, you can't fault them for doing a good job for their client. Sancho's never won man of the match for Man United, says Robert McCormack. There is a good chance we might lose the game against Liverpool, and if we keep Sancho as well, the toxicity will skyrocket. Just send him to Chelsea, says Tilak. I'd rather sell Sancho to Chelsea, providing they don't do a Sterling swap deal. However, we may as well keep him at this point, although both options are crap. Loan him to Juventus is the best option, says Liking Trash. I agree. Sancho should join the Arteta revolution, says Zane. Yeah, the thing about Arteta is he ain't stupid. They won't do it. Apparently, we've got a here we go on Osimhen to Chelsea. Neutral here. Chelsea is using Man United as their bin, says Ben. And I wouldn't send him to Chelsea, but can't keep him either. Having him around means we can... That was from Patrick. Why do we always get mugged? It's beyond my understanding. Okay. Rabiot and Amrabat instead of Yoro. Spilt milk, says Keel. Put Sancho in the reserves. He needs some rotting, says Kizale. And Jason has already said that we should keep him as an option. If we sell Sancho, do we buy a winger, says Liam Vernon? I don't think we need one. I personally don't think we need one. Let's talk about Chelsea. I know Beth did a video on it yesterday, but it was Beth and Kev yesterday, and I've not been live with you. I think that my real opinion on this is somewhat mixed. I'm talking about Mason Mount. So Mason Mount is out injured. We suspected that this might be... oh, here we go. Oh, no. Napoli... Osimhen not to Chelsea. Oh, God. I hope we've got no Chelsea fans here. Somebody in the chat said, here we go. Osimhen. Napoli reached total agreement with Ali for Victor Osimhen. Club to deal done. Oh, dear. I mean, look. That's a different comp. That's not for the United stand. Let's talk about Mason Mount. But I think it's a shame when a player of that quality goes to the Saudi League. It's great for the Saudi League and what they're trying to do, but yeah, I mean, he's a player that should be. You shouldn't be going at 25. You know, for me, he's one of the top 5 strikers in Europe, and he's going to Saudi. It's not a waste of a career. It's money, but are you going to watch him play in Saudi? I've not watched it. I don't watch it. So for me, it's like the MLS. I just don't watch it. So I'm surprised that Sancho has any interest at all from other teams, given his attitude and selfishness, says Chun. Somebody will always think they can make him good, though. And if you do, the glow up is worth it, I suppose. I'm surprised that Sancho... I meant to say can't keep Sancho around. He'll be a question in the background and some will see him as an option when, in essence, he isn't, says Patrick. And Josh says, I'd rather pay him to sit on his arse and piss his career away instead of paying him to play for someone else. Why should he get what he wants, says Josh. I agree with Josh on that. I agree with that. Regarding injuries, who did we replace our head physio with? Didn't they get shown the door? We brought someone in from Arsenal, yeah. We brought someone in from Arsenal. So let me talk to you about Mason Mount. So Mason Mount's out for 5 weeks. He put out what was quite a hard statement to read, actually, about how hard he'd worked in pre-season. He'd done everything right, and it's really difficult for him. You've got to be really careful here, because when you talk about injuries, you're not talking about what you're talking about with Jadon Sancho or any other player who just can't be bothered to, give a shit. I think Mason Mount really desperately wants to be a success at Manchester United. And look, we can ridicule the decision to give him the number 7 shirt. It was a stupid decision. There's no two ways about it. It really was stupid to give him the number 7 shirt. And I'm sure he didn't say no, but maybe he didn't understand the enormity of that, and taking that shirt puts added pressure on you. And maybe in hindsight, he wouldn't have done it. But as a Chelsea player, maybe he didn't understand. That number 7 shirt means so much to Man United fans. And if you're going to wear it, you've got to wear it. And the problem is he's just not wearing it. In the first season, he was injured 4 times. In his second season, he's played 1.5 games and he's injured again. This is... If he didn't have that number 7 shirt on, I think it would reduce the frustration a little bit, because it's an embarrassment how little he plays. And I feel bad for the player, because it's just so obvious that he wants to play and wants to be a success. You can see that in the first game against Fulham and against Brighton. You know, the intensity to run is there. And certain other players don't run like that. You know, and I'm not talking about Rashford, actually. I mean, you could say Rashford, but there's other players that, you know, Sancho, Anthony, you know, there are other McTominay. I know he's gone, but what I'm saying is Mason Mount, we're not just talking about running. McTominay used to run, but Mason Mount's actually very intelligent in the way that he presses. Like, he's very good at it. So you can't argue with the fact that Mason Mount wants to be a success at Manchester United. It's visible. You can see it. Is he good enough? That's a question we can't answer, because he doesn't play enough. So you can't say he's a flop because, you know, of a talent. We've never had a clear, consistent look at Mason Mount to see if he's a talent ready to play for Man United. But the harsh reality is, whether he's good enough or not, whether he should have the number 7 shirt or not, and, you know, the fact that he's upset and, you know, devastated by another injury is certainly something to, you know, acknowledge. But again, it's a little bit like the sympathisers for McTominay when he goes. We have to be ruthless. Scott McTominay's not good enough for Manchester United on the journey that we want to go. So him going is a good thing. People that are, you know, regretful about that, I just find it weird. Because if we finished 8th last year, we very rarely get in the top 4. We want to challenge with Man City. And yet people want to keep Scott McTominay. It doesn't make sense. We've got to go to a higher level. And I look at the Mason Mount situation, and I think the abuse and, you know, sell him, he's a flop, he's shit stuff, is just fans getting frustrated. Which, when it comes to injuries, I will always defend a Man United fan who overreacts about injuries, because it's become this thing in our stomach that's just really hard to put up with, because it happens all the time. You know, if I heard from Ten Hag today that somebody we weren't expected to be injured was injured, I'd feel like throwing a chair. And it's not that player's fault. We're just tired of all the injuries. It's very annoying. So I understand how frustrating it must be for the player. But what does that do? What does that do for us? Like, we can't play against Liverpool now with that midfield where it's Mount, Bruno, Mainu and Casemiro, and we just try and swamp the midfield. We can't do it now because Mason Mount's injured. So whether you wanted to do it or not, we can't do it. And whether he's had a summer where he's worked hard or not, I mean, if anything, it's even more worrying that he's had to put a statement out saying, I've done everything right, I've prepared properly, I've worked really hard. Well, that worries me even more. Because you've done nothing wrong, Mason. You've done everything right. You've prepared your body. You know, you've ate the right foods. You've done the recuperation. You've done everything right, and you've still picked up an injury. That suggests to me we have an injury-prone player here. And that's my worry. Do we now have to start considering the fact that Mason Mount is going to be injury-prone as a Man United player, and that we have bought, unfortunately, a bit of a dud? Because his injury record at Chelsea, from what I remember, wasn't that bad. But at United, it's absolutely horrific. 4 injuries last year and another injury this year. It's really disappointing. And I remember saying a few weeks ago, the thing about Mason Mount this season is he's got to stay fit till Christmas. That's the first thing he's got to do. Stay fit till Christmas. Whether you're in the team or not, be around the team.
You know, maybe you get in the team. Maybe you're on the bench playing half an hour every game, but stay fit until Christmas. And he's not stayed fit till the end of the month, the first month of the season. So it's just massively disappointing. And look, we wish him all the best in getting back, but do you guarantee he's going to stay fit till Christmas now when he comes back from this one? I think it's highly unlikely. Torva says it's not his fault. I don't think anybody said it was his fault, but it doesn't mean that we can't be frustrated by it. You know, is this happening to Man City and Phil Foden? You know, is it happening to Liverpool and Alexi McAllister? Is it happening to Arsenal and Saka? No, it's happening to Mount every bloody 3 weeks by the looks of it. It's happening to Shaw all the time. It's happening all the bloody time at Man United. And I don't know whether you can blame the medical department on this. I don't know whether you can, because some players just become injury prone, and we're just gonna have to see what happens with Mason Mount. I hope it doesn't happen. The trouble is, the way he plays football is very intense. You know, he is all action. He does do a lot of running. He does do a lot of pressing, and you know, maybe that's going to make him more prone to being injury. I don't know. I want to marry Margot Robbie as much as Mount wants to be successful number 7. He's delusional, says Agile Beast. Off topic, Maguire back in England and no pay cut, says Prasad. Yeah, Harry Maguire, Kobe Mainu back in the England squad. I got his. Well, it's Ten Hag's fault. Maguire's back in the England squad. Would Maguire have been back in the? I mean, why is he back in the England squad? He was crap against Brighton, actually, and he probably won't start against Liverpool. Yeah, I don't know why he's back in the England squad, really. Probably because he started against Fulham and played well. If I mean, it's an interesting point, is it? If De Ligt had been brought in a bit earlier, or Yoro had been fit, Maguire wouldn't have started against Fulham. Would he have gone into the England squad not starting? No. Suppose he wouldn't. Angel Gomez in the England squad as well, which is a blast from the past. Very, very, very good. Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, England squad, blah, blah, blah. Right, let's go back to some of the transfer news. So I was just talking to you then about transfer deadline day, because it is transfer deadline day today. Do we think anything else could happen today? Chelsea remain in talks with Man United over Jadon Sancho with a potential swap. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Juventus have left, as we know. We've spoken about that. There is no expectation that Manchester United will bring anybody else in this deadline day apart from Ugarte. There is still talk of Raheem Sterling on deadline day, but let's not forget as well, we mentioned this yesterday, didn't we? What we've got to get realistic about here is it's transfer deadline day, yes, and people want to think about how you can do something on transfer deadline day. We are very much in the equation now where loan deals would have to be what we're looking to do, because you've only got 12 hours. You can't pick up the phone to Everton now and say, let's do a deal for Branthwaite. You know, you can't do it, because if you try and do it, it's going to get problematic, isn't it? If you try and do a deal for Branthwaite now, you're going to run out of time. You're certainly not going to pick up the phone and ring up, I don't know, you're not going to ring up Girona now and get Gutierrez, because you can't do a deal in 11 hours. You just can't do it. All you can do now are free agents and loan deals. And even then, you're pushing it. So, Raheem Sterling swap deal with Jadon Sancho, I mean, that's just not going to happen, is it? You're not going to... A swap deal, if anyone can remember Sanchez and Mkhitaryan, that took about 4 weeks. Because you've got 2 sets of agents. There's no way... I would hazard a guess, and I'd be quite confident, that there is no way we can do a swap deal for Sancho and Sterling now, because there's too many components there. Sterling's entourage, Sancho's entourage, Chelsea, Man United. What's the value of this? Wages that need to be sorted. You can't do that deal, thank God. What you could do at a bare minimum is loan an obligation to buy, or some stupid shit like that. But why would you loan a 30-year-old with an obligation to buy when he's 31? You know, Sterling is effectively 30. He'll be 30 in December. Why would we do that? So I think what we're left with is slim chance of a loan deal for Sterling. next to no chance of a left back. The free agent thing for Rabiot will be a theory until Rabiot signs for AC Milan, I suppose. But I don't see anybody else coming in for Man United. I'd love it. And what I will say is I will offer a little bit of hope up that with Ineos, we've never been in this situation before. So we don't know. They might do something where they go and do a deal that is unexpected. We have done Agallo and people like that on transfer deadline day before. So there is always a slim chance, of course. But I think the fact that we've pushed Agate to today suggests that United know they're not going to do anything. I mean, it's a bit of a Glazer tactic, actually. It's a bit like announcing a new contract in a transfer window because it's like a new signing. And when you push an official signing back to transfer deadline day, you are basically saying to the fans that this is your excitement for today because there's not going to be anything else. Look, we've got a transfer deadline day show that's kicking in from 2 o'clock through till 11, so we will have plenty to talk about, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of conversation about the squad and the individual transfers in and out, and have we got enough and will it be enough? But I think we all have our thoughts, and our thoughts are about the left back. That's certainly a situation for me. I think the midfield might be a little bit weak as well. Agate coming in is great. I like Mainu. Casemiro staying is a surprise, but could be a positive. McTominay leaving is welcome. Eriksen staying is a concern. Collier is a kid. Mount is injured. And Bruno... I mean, look at our midfield at the moment. Agate is not even able to play. So you've got Casemiro, Kobe Mainu, and Bruno Fernandes. Collier's a kid. Eriksen's no use. Mount's injured. Agate's not signed yet. So we've got 3 midfielders, really, at the moment. Is Erik Ten Hag's strategy an issue with pace of the Premiership, says Keel? I think what you're trying to talk about is, do we overtrain our players? And we've had this conversation so many times that it becomes quite tiresome. The players are not getting injured because they're being worked too hard. And if they are getting injured because they're being worked too hard, then we've got the wrong players at the football club. Man City players get worked way harder than we do. Liverpool players get worked way harder than we do. Brighton players ran more than we did last week. So this myth that we overtrain our players and that's why they get injured, if that was true, then we need a bigger clear out than we thought, because those players that we've got aren't suitable for high-end Premier League football. Trust me, Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, and probably 2 or 3 other clubs work harder than we do, and they don't have the injuries that we do. So if our players are getting injured because of the workload, then they need to go and play for some other club that doesn't run around as much, because we're not even the most intense team in the Premier League by a long way. So maybe we've just recruited injury-prone players who aren't capable of playing the brand of football that we need. But actually, I think there's probably some truth in that. I think some of these players just aren't capable. I mean, look, if I look at Scott McTominay, I know he's gone, Christian Eriksen, Casemiro, Harry Maguire, these players, Victor Lindelof, they're not capable of playing intense Arsenal football. They're not that type of player. They're not. They could play for Everton. Definitely could play for Everton. Deep line, counter-attack, but they're not capable of playing high line, high intensity, lots of shuttle runs football. And that's down to Mourinho and Ollie, who recruited a certain style of footballer to play a certain style of football. We want to play like Man City and Arsenal, but we've got a squad that's still got a lot of players that want to play like Ollie and Mourinho. And that's probably part of the problem. Hi, Mark the Legend, says James Brown. Hi, mate. Are you going to keep doing 8 o'clock shows? No, I'm not. No, I like the 10 o'clock show because it's just perfect 10 o'clock. Because by 10 o'clock there'll be news that drops between 9 and fucking 10, like there always is, because the journalists wake up. But no, 8 o'clock this morning purposely because we've got the Europa League draw at midday, and I've got a few other bits I need to do in between 9 and 11. So that's why we're doing it at 8 o'clock. But remember, I was actually just talking about the Europa League draw. I'm quite excited about it. I don't know about you, but I quite liked the Champions League draw yesterday. I was a big no but I actually quite liked it. You know, looking at how you play 8 different teams in a league, I think it might get boring after game 5 if you know you've already qualified, because if you finish in the top, I think the problem with it's going to be if you finish in the top 16, you know you're through. So if you are like 6th and you've got 3 games to go and you know it's going to take a miracle for you to drop out, it will get boring then. But I do quite like this stage of it where you've got, you know, 8 different games, and 2 of them, at least 2 of them, is going to be quite good. But look, it might be total shit, but I quite liked it when it was drawn for the Champions League. But then again, I have always said it looks good having 8 different games, but if you win your first 4, you know you've qualified and you've still got another 4 games to go, which will be quite boring. Yeah, I know the top 8 go through automatically, but the next 16 go through as well into a actually it's the top 24 who go through, because you get a qualifier from 8 to 24. So yeah, basically you've got to be really bad to go out. I used to be obsessed with Sancho when we signed him, and today I've lost respect for him. Sir Alex was right. No player is bigger than the club, says Shubham. Well, on the poll, 51% of you would keep him and 49% of you would send him to Chelsea, which is interesting because it's basically a 50-50 split on what we should do. And so there we are on that one. Very, very interesting as to, you know, how you would play it. But I think that for me, yeah, that would be cool. Are we going to get a deadline day live stream, says Ziad? Yeah, well, we do it every year. We will be live from around... We've got the Europa League draw at 12. And then we've got Ten Hag's press conference, which I think is about 1:30. And then we're just basically going to stay live till about 11 o'clock tonight. So there'll be a lot of chat. There'll be a lot of stuff going on. We've got a lot of guests coming into the studio as well. So yeah, got loads going on. And yeah, we'll certainly do stuff. Chukwuemeka for Sancho. Any chance, says Casper. And I've heard something about that, Casper. But look, Chukwuemeka for Sancho is a better deal for Man United than Sterling for Sancho, because at least it's a young player with a bit of potential. You know, we don't get anything out of the Sterling deal other than somebody on the decline, which we've done for many times over the past. Could we sign Rabiot after the window closes, says Tech? As a free agent, if he wants to stay free until Christmas, you can still sign Rabiot. Yes, you can. Are we expecting anything exciting on transfer deadline day? Look, it can happen. My experience is the same as yours. I know I've woken up on transfer deadline day and we've gone from Rondon to Joshua King to Agallo from midday till 8 o'clock. In 8 hours, we went from Rondon to Joshua King to Agallo. So you can do stuff on transfer deadline day, and clubs will do stuff on transfer deadline day. Ivan Toney is going to sign for Chelsea, pretty much nailed on there. You heard it here first. That's going to, well, you didn't hear it here first, but he will end up signing for Chelsea now. But you've got to have the appetite. I don't know whether Man United have got the appetite to do something. Are they looking to do something on the transfer deadline day? I don't know. I don't know whether we are looking to do anything, because we seem to have wasted a lot of time this week. And that's another thing as well. If you wanted a left back or another midfielder, Man United have spent a lot of time this week negotiating with Juventus for nothing. You know, we've spent a lot of time this week talking about this Sterling deal, which, you know, is a waste of time. So we haven't got a lot of time left to do anything. Mark, the issue with the players we have is the fact that half of them are still Ollie and Jose signed players. 1 or 2 more windows and we will be back. Yeah. Look, I spoke about it a few minutes ago. There are aspects of this transfer window that quite clearly show how difficult a job Ineos have got. You know, Christian Eriksen is not Jadon Sancho and Victor Lindelof is not Jadon Sancho, and nobody, you know, dislikes those players. But I dislike the situation where we want to get rid of them and we can't because they've got a year on massive money. So yeah, Okay, to be positive, this season will give Collier more playing time. And what happened to Dan Gore? He's just coming back from injury, Edward. And I do think Collier, I like Collier. You know, I do like Collier. And if I was Ten Hag and I'm looking at the bench and it's Eriksen or Collier, the way the Premier League is, you need those legs. Collier, for me, is worth bringing on ahead of Eriksen. So that could be a great point from Edward, that the fact that Eriksen is staying and we can't replace him with an Amrabat could be great for Collier. Could be great for some of the younger players. Absolutely. Okay, thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. We've got a very, very busy day ahead. I'm going to go and get some food. And we are going to be live at midday for the press conference and the Europa League draw, which we're excited about. And then we're going to be live with you all the way through until 11 o'clock. So get your jobs done this morning and get ready to be with the United stand from this afternoon into the evening. It's going to be a great one. Take care, everybody. Speak to you all in a bit. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And I will catch you later. Thank you.